For years, Tobey Maguire was one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. From his soulful eyes to his quiet intensity, he wasn't just another actor, he was the beating heart of a generation's favorite hero. But lately, fans have noticed something strange. The man who once swung across skyscrapers as Spider-Man has virtually disappeared from the big screen. Where did Tobey Maguire go, and why? In recent years, speculation about Tobey's absence has filled social media and entertainment sites. Some believe he simply quit acting. Others think Hollywood turned its back on him. But the truth, as it turns out, is far more complex. What really happened to Tobey Maguire isn't about fame fading. It's about a man who walked away from the chaos of Hollywood to reclaim control over his life. Before he became a global superstar, Tobey Maguire's beginnings were anything but glamorous. Born on June 27, 1975, in Santa Monica, California, Tobey grew up in a financially unstable household. His parents split when he was young, and his childhood was marked by frequent moves and uncertainty. But that instability taught him something crucial: resilience. He originally dreamed of becoming a chef, but fate had other plans. At age 14, he dropped out of school to pursue acting full-time. What followed were years of auditions, small roles, and rejections, until his quiet determination caught the eye of filmmakers. By the late 1990s, Tobey had gone from struggling actor to one of Hollywood's most promising young talents, earning praise for roles in The Cider House Rules and Wonder Boys. But the real turning point was yet to come. In 2002, Tobey Maguire became the face of one of the biggest superhero franchises in history, Spider-Man. Directed by Sam Raimi, the film shattered box office records and turned Tobey into an international icon overnight. His portrayal of Peter Parker was different from anything audiences had seen before: awkward, kind-hearted, and deeply human. Fans didn't just see a superhero, they saw themselves. The trilogy that followed defined an era. Spider-Man 2 in 2004 became one of the most acclaimed superhero films ever made, while Spider-Man 3 broke records despite its mixed reviews. For a time, Tobey Maguire was on top of the world. But behind the mask, fame was taking its toll. The enormous pressure of carrying a billion-dollar franchise began to change his relationship with Hollywood, and with himself. Success brought wealth and fame, but it also brought expectations, scrutiny, and an unforgiving spotlight. Those close to Tobey say he never truly enjoyed being a celebrity. Unlike many of his peers, he wasn't drawn to the parties, the flashing lights, or the constant attention. Fame, for Tobey, was more of a burden than a blessing. By the mid-2000s, the stress was beginning to show. Rumors circulated of Tobey being difficult to work with, a label that would later follow him for years. Insiders claimed he became increasingly controlling on set, while others said he was simply exhausted. But the truth is simpler: Tobey was burned out. The fame that once lifted him up had begun to suffocate him, and Hollywood, as it often does, started looking for its next big thing. After Spider-Man 3 hit theaters in 2007, plans for a fourth installment were already underway. But disagreements between Tobey, director Sam Raimi, and Sony Pictures eventually led to the project's cancellation in 2010. When Andrew Garfield was announced as the new Spider-Man, fans were shocked, and Tobey quietly stepped away from the spotlight. It wasn't just the end of a franchise. It was the end of an era. Hollywood moved on quickly, but Tobey didn't chase the next big role. Instead, he took a step back. He appeared in smaller films like Brothers and The Great Gatsby, showing flashes of brilliance, but his on-screen appearances grew fewer with each passing year. Many assumed he was finished, but what they didn't know was that Tobey was reinventing himself behind the scenes. After stepping away from acting, Tobey didn't vanish, he just shifted focus. What most fans don't realize is that he found a new calling as a producer. Through his production company, Material Pictures, Tobey began working on projects that reflected his creative vision, including Good People, 2014, and Pawn's Sacrifice, 2015, where he also starred as chess legend Bobby Fischer. Away from the cameras, Tobey also made headlines for something completely unexpected: his love of high-stakes poker. For years, he became a central figure in exclusive Hollywood poker games involving stars like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. These games would later inspire the film Molly's Game, with Tobey rumored to be the unnamed celebrity gambler portrayed as manipulative and competitive. The scandal briefly tarnished his image, but it also revealed something about him. Tobey Maguire had always craved control, both in his work and his private life. As years passed, Tobey's perfectionism and introversion increasingly isolated him from the industry that once adored him. Friends described him as brilliant but distant, someone who valued privacy more than popularity. After his divorce from jewelry designer Jennifer Meyer in 2020, Tobey became even more reserved, focusing on raising their 2 children, Ruby and Otis, away from the glare of Hollywood. People close to him say that fatherhood changed everything. The man who once chased perfection on-screen began prioritizing peace off-screen. He traded red carpets for school runs, photo ops for quiet family dinners. While some saw his retreat as the end of his career, those who know him best say it was his greatest act of self-preservation. Tobey didn't disappear, he evolved. In 2021, Tobey shocked the world with his return in Spider-Man: No Way Home. His surprise appearance alongside Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield became one of the most emotional moments in cinematic history. Fans wept seeing him back in the suit, older, wiser, and more human than ever. It was a nostalgic reminder of what made him special in the first place. But even after the film's global success, Tobey didn't rush back into the limelight. He turned down major offers and declined interviews, preferring to remain in the shadows. His brief return wasn't about reviving a career, it was about closure. A quiet thank you to the fans who never forgot him. For Tobey, it was enough to remind the world that he hadn't vanished. He had simply chosen peace over fame. As of 2025, Tobey Maguire lives a life far from the chaos of celebrity culture. He spends much of his time in Los Angeles, working selectively as a producer and occasionally advising younger actors who seek his insight. Friends describe him as reflective and deeply philosophical, someone who values creativity over celebrity. He's also rumored to be developing an independent film project that he may direct himself, a new chapter in a career that has always defied expectations. In rare public appearances, Tobey looks healthy and content. He no longer needs Hollywood's validation because he's found his purpose outside it. Fame was never his true home. It was just a chapter in his journey. Now, Tobey Maguire is writing his story on his own terms, proving that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't about returning to the screen, it's about finding peace beyond it. So why don't we see Tobey Maguire anymore? Because he chose to disappear. In an industry that thrives on constant attention, Tobey walked away from the noise to protect his sanity, his family, and his peace. The man who once carried the weight of a billion-dollar franchise decided that true success isn't about box office numbers, it's about balance. Tobey Maguire may no longer be in every blockbuster, but his legacy endures. He defined a generation of moviegoers, changed the superhero genre forever, and left behind a blueprint for what it means to leave Hollywood without losing yourself. His story isn't a tragedy, it's a triumph of quiet strength. The real reason we don't see Tobey Maguire anymore? Because he finally found what most of Hollywood never will: peace.